Tifandra's.
My voice is disgusting.
Listen to Tifandra's ASMR. Here she is tapping her nails on the microphone. That's it. It's called Tiff's ASMR.
10 years later.
Yeah. You're just gonna press it every time.
Yeah, like, we're gonna say the darkest shit. We're gonna be like, yeah, I saw a dog get run over by a car today.
Dude, okay.
Hey, you want to start right now? Like,
Okay.
intro. 1, 2, 3.
Welcome back to another episode of Jib Square's Always Loud. It is in the middle of a very hot summer, but also a very rainy summer here in Toronto.
So humid.
But that has not stopped the slew of festivals that we get every year. So today we'll be talking a little bit more about food and the festivals that both people experience within the city and outside.
Toronto food adventures, yay!
Joining me as always is Tiff. And today Christina will also be joining us.
Hey, how are you guys?
Doing good.
Okay.
So we just wanted to kind of get started with you, Christina, and tell us a little more about, your experience coming to Toronto and where you're from. And
Sure. So I'm Christina. I'm from Colombia. I moved to Toronto last fall to start a Humber program with you guys. And I've been here ever since.
Sounds good. And in terms of Colombia, I don't know a lot about the city, but in terms of festivals compared to here, have you been to any Toronto food festivals or anything?
Yeah. Well, not particularly like food festivals,
Sure.
but like street festivals.
Like what?
Where there's food. I went to like the Little Italy festival. I don't know the name exactly.
Taste of Little Italy?
That
Oh, yeah,
one.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I went to that one.
Okay.
How did you like it?
I liked it, yeah. But it was so crowded.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because it's summer and people are tired of being at home cold. So.
For sure. And like compared to, the festivals you see in Colombia, like, is it something similar? Do you see as much kind of, I guess, like, Toronto tries to always be like that diverse city where we have Taste of Italy, Taste of Danforth, we have Polish festival, Ukrainian, we have like festivals from all over having it.
You got to taste like a lot of new kind of food, right? Because Toronto is so like diverse, cosmopolitan, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's what I like about the city. It's very diverse. There's people from every background. And then with that multiculturalism, that's reflected on like the food scene here in the city, which is pretty different from what I'm used to back home. Because we're not very multicultural. And we do receive a bunch of tourism, but there's not many foreigners living in the city, in my city. So the food scene is very like local. Of course, there are like restaurants from different places or cuisines around the world, but it's nothing compared to here because you can literally find anything that you want here.
What's the food like in Colombia?
Well, I come from Medellin, which is like the second biggest city in the country. And I guess like the food is very different from here.
Do you guys have like empanadas? And that
Yeah,
kind of stuff?
like we have empanadas, but they're different from the ones that you find here, which are basically like from Argentina, or they're also different from the Jamaican patties. But I haven't found an empanada place from Colombia here. So that I miss. And then also like our food is very like maybe deep fried, and then there's just like a lot of calories within our food traditions, and that's something that's also very maybe different from here. But yeah, I don't know. Like it's also crazy because when you say, oh, you're Hispanic or Latin America, usually people, including you, Matt, immediately think about Mexico, right? And I understand why. But then, like, our food is very different. I love Mexican food, I do. But it's just very different.
Yeah.
Of course, it's more similar to my culture than, let's say, Chinese or whatever. But it's still very different. And one example of this is that everyone automatically thinks, oh, like Hispanic or Latin food is very spicy because of Mexicans love spice.
No, you can't
And
handle
I can't
spice.
handle, yeah, I can't handle. And it's not just like me, but like in, spice is not a thing within our...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember, like, because, like, during the year, like, because our class was so, like, multicultural and, like, there's so many people from other culture, and we had, like, potlucks and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And people of our class from India would bring food and chapati and that kind of stuff, and from Kenya, and you were like, oh, this is too spicy.
Yeah.
Like, there's pepper in it. Oh,
Yeah, I'm weak. And they even, like, they started, like, learning that from me. And then now people, every time they cooked something and bring it to class, they would do, like, a batch without spice. And then they were like, oh, this is for you specifically. Like, this was made for you because you can handle heat. And then our teacher, she was like, oh, well, I thought you could all handle heat. And I'm like,
who said that?
Susan.
Oh,
And I'm like, no.
That's funny.
Well, like, not Mexican, but it's more similar to South American food.
Yeah, for
like,
sure.
Do you have, like, because I know I've heard Peru, I've heard, like, Argentina, Uruguay, they all have their, like, own take on, like, asado?
Yeah.
Right? So does Colombia have its own kind of asado?
No, we like everything.
You like everything? Okay,
Yeah.
touche.
Yeah.
But, like, when you were, like, you mentioned there was, like, other restaurants, kind of just like here, like, you have sushi, you have a bit of every culture. Did you find yourself trying as many of these restaurants there, or when you came to Canada, did you kind of lean towards a certain direction in terms of what food you preferred?
Yeah. Well, I guess I've tried almost everything back home, but then also, like, the food is not very traditional. So let's say if I go to a Japanese restaurant back home, it's like Japanese fusion, it's not like very traditional. And then probably the chef is not even from Japan, is someone that went there study or whatever and then came back and have ideas and then started, changing. And yeah. When I came here, specifically, let's talk about this. So with this example, so when I came here, I loved sushi back home, and I was like, oh, okay, let's go out to a sushi place. And then I went with my boyfriend, and then we sat down at a fully traditional Japanese restaurant here. And then when I started reading the menu, I was like, oh, well, it's very different from what I thought it was Japanese food. But of course, I was wrong. Like, this was actually Japanese food from Japanese, experts in food people.
Culture, yeah.
But did you prefer it, or were you still like, I kind of miss that fusion from home?
Yeah, I mean, I missed it because I'm pretty used to it.
And you have your
But I
comfort
don't mind.
zone with that.
Yeah,
for sure.
exactly. But I don't mind
that.
it. And then also, like, let's say with all of our Indian friends, we only have one Indian restaurant back home, like in my city. So when I came here, of course, the diaspora is so big, so there's like many good, places and restaurants and whatever. And they also cooked and brought all these dishes to the class for us to try. So I would say, like, this was like the first time that I really, really tried, like, Indian
100%.
food.
I think even here, like you'll find, like you have to know what restaurants to go to get the
Yeah.
authenticity. Because like I've had Indian food from an Indian restaurant, but until like our classmates started bringing actual like
It depends
dishes.
where you go, especially
Yeah.
in the city. Like, what part of like Toronto you go to eat some certain kind of food? Like, for instance, like Indian food. I feel like the east side of Toronto is really good for like East Danforth. You know
For
what
sure.
I mean? Like,
I think that's everywhere. Because like, well, like in terms of the food, because like even like. You know what I mean? Like, no, but it's not even just Indian food or like even like what?
I thought like in every city of the world. I was like, oh, Matt, okay.
No,
You've traveled.
No, okay, all right. No, I actually haven't traveled, but like like same with Polish food. Even though like pierogi seems so simple, like I definitely prefer the ones that you get at the Polish Village,
Oh, yeah.
right? And like. So, like, I feel like for everything, like, you have to know the spots, yeah.
Yeah,
to
for
know the
sure.
spots for sure.
Um,
And like, I feel like here, like, you could get not catfished, but like you could get like pretty fooled sometimes with the price of the food. Sometimes you might think, for instance, for Japanese food, sometimes you might think, oh, this is like so expensive, it's fancy and that kind of thing. Maybe like it is super authentic, really like good.
Yeah,
sometimes it's like, you know, overhyped a little bit, and like you really need to find like Toronto is that place where sometimes when you find very niche spots that doesn't seem as fancy as like it looks,
they're better.
They're like really good. I have like a
better.
bunch of places on my Google map that I flagged.
You flagged?
I flagged, like, oh, I have to go there.
She made like a whole list.
She's got like a whole Yelp review.
Yeah.
She's notorious. They give her free food now.
Because like I was craving for pho, like the Vietnamese soup.
Yeah.
Because like I thought that here compared to, I used to live in France for a little bit before, and like Vietnamese food, like it's pretty common because like I don't know, Vietnam was like a colony of France for sometimes. So like here I thought it was like kind of like hard to find like the good Vietnamese restaurant with the taste that I was used to.
Yeah.
So I had to really look at like Asian Reddit pages thing to really like find those.
Filter
and, like,
through all the
and like I
restaurants,
really like there's like one on Ossington, it's called Turtle something.
Did you try it?
It's really good.
And you didn't flag it?
I flagged it. I
You
was
still
like,
flagged it? Oh, like in a good
like,
way.
oh,
Green
this
flag.
is like where I want to go, you know what I mean?
Okay. Okay.
My
I was
dear,
like, you're over here
he
like
didn't
red
get
flagging
it, no.
restaurants. I'm like, man, all right. Start a food blog.
No, like flagged and says like I want to go there, you know?
Yeah. Well, have you gone to any food festivals like here?
Yeah, there's like Taste of Danforth.
Sure. Actually, I've never been to that one.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that one is like.
Like, what are you even tasting at Taste of Danforth?
Greek.
It's just a straight. It's Greek. Oh, okay.
Mostly Greek.
So why isn't it like Taste of Greece? You know, we have Taste of Italy. Anyway, okay, but yeah, okay, Greek food.
You know, like at some point during the summer, they have that pedestrian thing at Kensington Market.
Oh yeah, Sundays.
Kensington's.
Yeah, something like that, and they have really good Caribbean food and tacos.
Yeah, Mexican food
well,
there is amazing.
Speaking of tacos,
Yeah.
tomorrow's the taco festival.
Oh really?
Where?
Actually, yes. I don't remember where. I just remember.
You don't remember
So
where?
useless, damn.
I'm gonna have to Google it again, but like, yeah. So I actually do have tickets because you have to buy. So that's the other weird
Wait,
thing.
that's so weird.
Right?
I think, okay, now that we're talking about it, I follow like these like 3 Instagram profiles or whatever,
Sure.
like what to do here and
Mm-hmm.
new spots to visit and whatever. Because I don't know the city, right?
Yeah.
And then all of these profiles keep sharing like food festivals that I'm really interested in. I love food.
Sure.
And then I think I saw that one. And then I was like, oh, amazing, because I do love Mexican food. I just said that. And then I started reading like the post or the flyer.
Yeah.
And then it was like you have to pay. I remember this one specifically. You have to pay to get in, but then you have to pay to get the food. So for me,
That's the
that's
thing
so
with like
weird.
food festivals.
That's
Yeah, paying to get
Crazy.
in, 100%.
I feel like it's not something very student friendly in
No.
Toronto.
Can you imagine living in that neighborhood? It's like you go to work, come home, and you have to pay to get in.
Yeah, I know, right? This is fucking ridiculous.
It's ridiculous,
But
yeah.
it's the same with like, oops. It's the same with the CNE festival. You remember? Like,
Yeah.
you know, like when you go there and the food is so expensive and
Yeah.
you
You're just
tasting
paying
like
to walk in. Yeah.
crazy
But you're paying to, you know,
for
play
the experience
games.
too.
That you pay for.
But you still
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't think, for me, that's not as
There's
weird.
an argument for CNE because
Yeah.
it's like it's not festival, it's a carnival.
It's a carnival.
It's a
but there you go.
carnival, yeah, for sure.
And
And there's like
carnivals
stuff you
are
can
paid.
do for free.
For
like
free,
they have
yeah.
like stuff you can try and all
Yeah.
that.
I think that CNE though, in terms of food, like adventure exploration, it's so interesting.
It
Like, This
is.
is like the place where you taste stuff like mustard and ketchup ice cream.
They have like the
fried
weirdest
watermelon.
Yeah.
The stuff that, you know, like fever dream shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then I was thinking about that was like such a cultural shock for me. Like, why would I have to pay for a festival and then pay for the food?
So
That's crazy.
Exactly.
And then, I mean, my boyfriend is also from Colombia, and then I was like, oh, look what I'm like looking at. And then I told him, like, it's this festival and you have to pay for the festival. It's like, I don't know, more than $20. And he was like, oh, but then it's like an all you can eat. And I laughed and I was like, well, no, you're wrong. You have to pay for each taco.
Everything.
You have to pay
Yeah,
for each
yeah.
taco. And like one taco here is like $7. So like at the
Yeah,
end of
it's
the
not
day,
cheap,
it's
eh?
not
It's
cheap
not,
at all. Like at
yeah.
the end of the day, if you do want to go there and you do want to try some tacos, you'll spend like
You
at
need to have the
least
budget
$60,
for that, for sure.
and that's
But
crazy.
like this summer is like the period of the year, the time of the year where you spend so much. I want to say more than like Christmas.
Yeah.
I mean,
When I first came here, coming back to our last podcast topic, I wanted to, you know, like get out of here, get out of my dorm room and that kind of thing, and like
couldn't?
explore. And then I saw how much I was spending just to explore, and I was like, that's not worth it. I'm just gonna stay in my room. But then, you know, like at my university, like they did some kind of like initiatives to like, you know, like introduced us to like the
for sure.
city and
Yeah.
like the food and that kind of stuff too,
For free.
outside of festivals.
yeah.
So I feel like, you know, eating and going on food adventures outside of festivals is as rewarding
Yeah.
and probably cheaper than going to events like that,
Oh,
in
for
my
sure.
opinion.
For sure.
But you have to like get out of your way.
But there's also, like, to play devil's advocate, like, the ones with the entry fees, they usually have live bands, right? And the other reason is, like, with the free festivals, they have to, like, establish, like, a bar or a beer garden area for drinking. But, like, the Taco Fest tomorrow is 19 plus. So, like, the moment you go in, you know, there's that element of you can drink and walk around with your beer, as opposed to when you go to a festival that's open, like Ukrainian or Polish, where there is no entry fee. You have to go to this spot. You have to stay there, drink your beer. You can't move from that spot, right?
So you're paying $20 for that. That's
100,
crazy.
like,
That's crazy.
again,
Because you
fair.
were born here.
No, I'm just saying, like,
That's crazy.
100%.
Toronto's not cheap. You compare
Toronto
that to,
is not cheap. That is
yeah.
that is the moral of the story,
Yeah,
for
yeah.
sure. But there's still, like, yeah, I mean, there's festivals on both ways. Like,
street food is not like, it's not really cheap here.
it's not cheap.
Like,
It
you
is
wanna
more
have
accessible.
lunch?
Like, it's more like, it is, though. Like, everything's debit now. Like, it used to be where you needed cold, hard cash to get anything from a truck.
I
And,
don't
like,
know, like I compare that to where I grew up. So I grew up in Mauritius, and whenever I was doing my internship, I remember, and I wanted to go and grab lunch because I didn't pack. I just go in the street. There's like street vendors. I'm just like, oh, I want a dal puri. And, like, if you guys know what it is, like, no.
No.
It's kind of like a crepe, like made out of dal with curry in it, and then you only paid, I don't know, 15 rupees. I don't know what's 15 rupees in Canadian dollars. That's less than $1, I think,
So.
and that's half $1. And I don't know, and I feel like if it was to be like marketed here, that would be like, I don't know, $7 for one.
Yeah,
For sure. Well,
So to me, that's not accessible in the first place. There's that. If you compare it to like street food like elsewhere, I don't know, Asia.
Yeah.
That's-
Food here is expensive.
well, I also think it's the city. I don't think it's all of Canada.
Oh yeah, I'm
think
talking
so?
about Toronto. 'cause
Toronto
it's what I
alone.
know.
Yeah, I mean, Toronto itself has become, like, rent's gone up, everything's gone up. So like, you know, like the people who are selling the food have to pay rent, otherwise they're living in those food trucks. But no, for sure. I mean, especially like as students who, you know, want to experience more of the city, want to get out and see the festivals, you know, I definitely agree that like having to pay just to go in really takes away from it. I do think Toronto's still one of the greater like there's still so much you can do for free. Like I've been like
For sure.
on a
There's
roll,
a lot,
you know, like Asado Festival I found I didn't even know was a thing by Kensington.
Yeah.
Grilled Cheese Fest, like, you know, there's some you do pay, rib, tacos, you know, it's true, I broke the bank a little bit, but, like, you know, and for the students who definitely are struggling to get, you know, like, the food they need,
there are
like,
strategies, too.
It's a bit of a balance, but, you know, I mean, we are getting to the end of that time, and, you know, if you are concerned about post-secondary students and food availability, please check out Jib Square Foundation.
We're here to help.
Where they are accepting donations and where they are focused on ending food insecurity in post-secondary students as well as reducing food waste. Christina, thank you so much for coming out this week.
Thank you, guys.
It was a lot of fun. And this is Matt.
And Tiff.
And Christina.
And we're always loud.